Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit podcast. And I am stoked for today's episode. We're going to be getting into some very interesting information, some summit gems, some really valuable takeaways, and some mistakes to avoid on your summit. So this is going to be pretty foundational. Get your pens out, get ready to rock, and it's all going to be possible because we got legendary Tim Corcoran here with us. How are you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely. I'm stoked to have you here. I can't wait to dig into your summit, some of the things you've learned, how it progressed, and some of the mistakes that were made and learned from. But before we get into those summit goodies, I'd love for you to take just a quick second and tell the audience just a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And again, just great to be here. So I serve as a coach, helping people to discover their purpose. I've actually got a background as a wilderness guide. My wife and I started a wilderness school here where we live in Idaho 15 years ago. And what I found through the years was that as I helped people connect with nature in wilderness, they made a deep spiritual connection and a connection to why they're here and what they're really here for. And so, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I made a transition to explicitly helping people to discover their purpose, which I love doing. And so with this virtual summit that I hosted just mid-February, I just finished it up last month. It was my first one, and it was really explicitly designed to put my name out there in a bigger way and reach out to more people. Yeah, so love this process. So great and grateful to be here with you.
Absolutely, Tim. We are stoked to have you here. I love Idaho. I forgot to mention we actually have a ski house in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Oh, nice.
So familiar
Beautiful.
with the terrain out there. And I can see why people could have a spiritual awakening out there. It's an absolutely beautiful place. What's also absolutely beautiful is summits. So we're going to jump into your summit, your virtual summit. So tell us about that. First off, how did you come up with the idea to do the summit, and what was the summit about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been thinking about virtual summits, honestly, since 2011. So that's 9 years. And I always had a sense since I first heard about them, I was just like, I don't know what it was. I just knew like someday I'm going to have to do this. And for me, it was a big step. I mean, I had to really take a step forward in terms of my confidence and my willingness to put myself out there. I've got all those little gremlins just like everybody else. And I really knew that when I did it, I wanted to do it well. I wanted to do it right. I wanted it to be tight, well designed, professional, good speakers, just a really solid offering. So I've been thinking about it for years, and I got involved with a coach who helped me, who had some experience with virtual summits and helped me get organized. And one of the first things I had to do, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, was narrow down my niche, right? Because at first I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to put it out there like I help people discover their purpose. And the way I do that is by helping people connect with nature. So like, people who love nature and want to discover why they're really here. And I was thinking that would be enough. And so with good advice from my coach, she was like, no, you can't do that. Way too broad. You got to tighten it up. And of course, that's a common thing, I think, for folks getting started. So what I did, so I've been doing this work for a few years, Mark. And what I did is I just looked at, okay, let's look at who my clients have been over these last few years since I kind of rebranded myself. And what are the patterns been? And for me, it was really clear. Wow. I'm getting a lot of men in midlife, right? Men in midlife transitions, not feeling fulfilled in work, or maybe going through a divorce or whatnot. Now, it's not that I didn't have younger folks or older folks or women that as clients, because I did, but it was probably, 75% of the people that were coming to me, right? The people who were attracted by my message, my perspective, were guys in midlife transitions. So I just took the big step, and it was a nervous one. I had some anxiety about it, but I said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Men in midlife transitions. That's going to be my niche. And so then with the title, I went with the Men's Midlife Revolution Online Summit.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Oh, I love that. And I want to actually come back to the being nervous and the anxiety part, because there's probably a lot of the our listeners right now, Summit hosts, are probably right there in that phase where they're a little worried about it, maybe nervous, right topic, not right topic, do it now, not do it now. So actually take us back to a little bit about that feeling. What were some of those even limiting beliefs that were going through your mind? And then we'll come back and see how we squash those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the big thing for me was just, who am I to do this? And really, wow, it feels so vulnerable to put myself out there. I mean, even like a year ago, I just didn't have a lot of experience doing this Zoom calls and a mic and being in front of the camera and the whole thing. And I think all those classic fears, right? What they say, one of the biggest fears for human beings is speaking on a stage. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is people are going to see me. And so what's the question? Well, what if they don't like what they see? Well, okay, yeah, some people won't, and frankly, some people didn't. But you know what? A lot of people did. And so for me, it was about, and this is actually part of the work I do professionally, is helping people through that. But it was really about just owning it and saying, you know what? Okay, yeah, I'm scared. Just owning up to it. Yeah, I'm scared. And that doesn't have to stop me. So getting support, I'm lucky to have a lot of support in my life, a great wife and a great men's work I'm a part of and a leader in. And, I went to the people and coaches. I went to people and just, asked for help, and I got it. But for me, I think, Mark, it was really about my passion and my yearning to really put myself out there in the world, and not for me, but to help others. That became stronger than whatever fear I had of people, judging me or whatnot.
This is like such an important topic that we actually haven't really even touched on this podcast. And so I'm glad we're diving into this a little bit, because every single summit, even summit hosts that are veterans in the summit world that have done it, they still get worried. They still get anxious. They still get nervous. So I love that you talked about that. And you talked about how you got support. You got some help. You got some people to support you there. Let's dive into that even a little bit more. Like, what was maybe something specifically that either a coach or your wife or somebody in your world did that helped make you feel better and even transition that mindset? And then also, was there any kind of little things you did on a day-to-day basis, like before you did your interview, or just any kind of thing to pump you up, music or whatever? Yeah,
totally. So great question. And I love this topic. So I'll tell you this. I felt like I had this amazing experience, Mark, because my summit, all the sessions were pre-recorded. I had about 25 speaker sessions. And the hardest part for me, no question, was recording that very first Zoom interview, the very first one. I was so nervous. Oh my God. But I'll tell you this, when I got through it at the end of that, like I, hit the stop recording button and hung up the line, I felt like a complete success. I did. That was a magic moment for me. I was like, oh my God, I did it. If I can do one, I can do 100 of these. I can do 1,000,000 of these things. It takes time and it's busy work and all that. But I got through it. And so, how did I get through it? Well, I'm a big believer on working with fear and resistance, meaning I think intuitively what just kind of automatically comes to people is, okay, I'm afraid, I'm feeling anxious, so I just got to ignore that and put it aside and whatever, put on my game face and just go. For me, for whatever reasons, that hasn't been an approach that's worked. And I've had to really spend more time facing that. And that's, again, a big part of what I do professionally in my coaching, helping others. And so what I do, is I have a little exercise where this is kind of like getting into some working with this inner psyche and all of that. Some people might find this a bit woo-woo, but you know what? It works for me, and I bet it would work for others. And so it's just a simple idea that, okay, we're comprised of parts. So I've got part of me that feels really vulnerable, that feels scared. Okay. And so it's just admitting that, just acknowledging, okay, I got a part of me that's afraid. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. It's a human being thing. It happens to all of us. And then B, okay, I've got another part of me that is really excited, that's pumped up, that wants to get out there, put out this message, help people, right? And C, okay, I've also got a part that can actually have some real empathy and compassion for myself, maybe like a mature part inside me, like an inner father or something. And that can I can just be there for myself. So what I did before that first session, and I'm a big, as I said, background as a wilderness guy, so big into nature. I just took a walk. I took a walk for half an hour, and I just allowed myself to have all those feelings of fear, and I let it all out, And as I was doing that, I was just like kind of holding space for myself and just like, okay, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, nervous, anxious, but it's all right. And so I just made space for it. Now that was kind of my inner process. In terms of support from others, again, I think the key is just acknowledging it. So yeah, in my men's group or with my wife or whatnot, with my coaches, it's always about acknowledging it. And when we can admit that to someone else, like, it takes a certain amount of courage for me to say this to you and to all of our listeners right now. But when we can do that, it normalizes it. And guess what? Everybody responds with, as you just did, oh, that's so funny. I have that same feeling. And everyone I've talked to has that same feeling. And then we start to feel like it's more normalized, because it's so easy to convince ourselves that we're the only one and, we're a screw up or whatever it is. And everyone else has got this together, because we only see people's brilliance. I mean, we only see when the recording button is pushed, right? We don't see all the darkness and all the hardships and all the work that it takes to get there. And so when we just kind of normalize it and recognize, everyone has this. And if I'm just starting out, I'll probably have a little bit more. And as I progress, it's a skill I can learn. I'll get more and more comfortable with this. So I think the compassion, the empathy, finding people who can support that in meaningful ways and receiving that from others, and then as well, giving that to ourselves, showing up for ourselves in that way.
I love it. And I'm glad we dove into that. I think we all needed a little mental pep talk here, pick us up and keep going. So let's now dig into a little bit of into the summit. Let's actually look at essentially some factors that you did in your summit that stood out, maybe something special or unique that you did that worked well for your summit.
Sure. Well, so I'll say this. I'm no master at summits. This was my first one. I'm certainly familiar with summits. I've been a part of many of them as a participant. And what I found, so a few different things. One, I knew that I wanted to have this be a high quality experience on all fronts. So I didn't want to rush into it too much. And I wanted to take my time and really create something beautiful. So design was really important. I feel proud of my design. Everybody who saw it, I got nothing but good feedback, positive feedback on the actual design itself. So photograph qualities, choosing the right fonts and a good color scheme, and just the whole layout on the website, all of that. So design was really important. And I think for me, honestly, it's something, Mark, that I think before the summer, I didn't even realize how much design communicates to people. Like, we look at a web page and it's like a microsecond, and there's all kinds of judgments that come forward, like, is this professional or not? And then we extend that to the person. Well, if the website isn't professional, are they going to be? Is the quality of audio and video going to be professional if the design is not? All of those, is the content going to be solid if the design is not? I think there's a lot of links there. And so I knew, okay, I really want this to be tight. That was one thing. Let's see, what else? Unique pieces.
Do you I want to jump back into this for a second with the design, because now everybody's thinking, well, okay, how do I do just good design? So do you have any tips, strategies, or suggestions that come to you, or even that you used as a standard for your summit on how to kind of make sure that it was up to par from a design standpoint?
That's a great question. I think the reality is it's important to get other eyes on it. I think it's all too easy for us to just dive in and create the site ourselves. I mean, I had a VA who was helping, but I think it's all too easy to just kind of get in lone wolf mode and like, okay, this is what I think is good, and so we're just going to go with that. But I was really big on, while I was in the design process, asking for feedback just straight up. And again, that's going to take more time. It's going to take more vulnerability, I think, because you got to be open to people saying, gosh, I don't really like this, Tim, maybe some changes here. But I did. I asked for feedback, and I was willing to accept it. And when I was, I don't know, like a simple little thing, I was using Divi, for my design thing, and I was just figuring out they have all those cool section dividers, and you can do waves or you can do angles, all this stuff. And I was kind of like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to do this. This will make mine unique. And I had like 10 different dividers, and it made it look just kind of crappy, kind of low quality. And so I got some feedback, pick one, Tim, and stick with that. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was just a simple example. But yeah, getting feedback, get some other eyes on it, and get some people who understand design. If that means hiring a coach, if that means reaching out to someone that is skilled in this area, call a spade a spade. If you're not a designer, don't pretend to be, right? So those are some thoughts.
That's so true. If you're not a designer, don't pretend to be. This is not one of those areas where you want to fake it until you make it.
Right.
So, especially on your summit. I love that. Well, let's keep moving with with your summit. You did a unique strategy that I've honestly haven't seen before.
Okay.
With your summit, and you had some good success on it for when people came to the summit and maybe they didn't opt in. So let's talk about that strategy, how it evolved, and how it did for you.
Sure. So what the strategy was, I mean, the basic idea of the summit is this. There's I'm sure our listeners know, there's an opt-in page. On that main opt-in page, there is no offer for any recordings to purchase, right? The only offer, there's one action to take. The call to action is enter your email address and name in exchange for free access. Then on the thank you page, that's where the upsell comes. And classically, that's where we would see, okay, you can buy the recordings for $47.99 or whatever it is. So as I thought about that, I said, okay, that's a best practice, and I'm getting behind this. But I also thought about my audience. And this is where, again, taking our time as summit hosts and really understanding our audiences. So my audience is men in midlife transition. Busy guys, we're working, and we like it simple. We like it clean. We don't want a lot of fluff, right? So I said, gosh, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to see this summit. They're going to see the dates, and what about those folks where the dates don't work for them? And I didn't want to lose those people, right? So I thought, well, what if I just make right on the front end, on the first opt-in page, what if I make an offer to offer the recordings to them at the lowest cost possible, like my lowest price point that I would offer it at, as just a way of getting in there. So I did. So I created a simple pop-up, 30-second time delay. So I'm intentionally targeting people who are interested. They've been on the site for 30 seconds, but they have not yet signed up, and thinking that would be like the most likely time when someone might be open to this. And then the offer was really simple. It was like, hey, interested, but the dates don't work? You can grab the full recordings, lifetime access right here, $47. And so then there was a button, right? And they click on that, and that takes them right to the checkout. Now, it performed really well. I probably had, percentage-wise, maybe a third of my sales came from that. I had that offered at $47, and then I had the main offer on the thank you page after most people opted in. That was actually priced at $67. So I was giving it away at $20 less, and that was the only place they could access it at that price point. And you could maybe argue, okay, did I lose a few dollars? Maybe I did. But did I gain more people? I think so. And can I prove that? I didn't have the tracking in place to be able to prove that, and I think that'd be a difficult one to track out. But I think for my audience, right, guys who are busy and maybe the dates don't work, I think it's a good way to go.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your Virtual Summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Yeah, I think a third of sales from that, like, I mean, that's forget the opt-ins, the list built on that. You made a third of sales from people that were not even going to opt in. Like, those sales would have never happened. They were like, can't work. I'm out. See ya. So that is a very intelligent option right there. The one thing I would hesitate all Summit hosts who are listening to this with is if you're going to run Facebook traffic to your opt-in page, a pop-up is actually against the community standards. So it can cause some problems with that, which can segue us into the second aspects: mistakes made, lessons learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was my first time working with a VA. I had a virtual assistant. Classically, I've been the guy who's done it all myself, right? So with this summit, I knew, okay, this is going to be a huge, huge endeavor. And I just knew it was time for me to get some help. So everyone I talked to said, give yourself at least 3 months from the point at which you're getting very serious about this for a summit of this size. Now, my summit was 25 speakers, all pre-recorded sessions, right? And then it went live for 5 days. So everyone told me, take 3 months, Tim, take 3 months. Well, given my schedule and just the way things played out, I knew that I wanted to do it if I wanted to do it this year, I had to pull it off in 2 months. And so I know how to buckle down and make stuff happen. And so I said, I'm going to do it in 2. And everyone was like, don't do it in 2. Don't do it in 2. It's kind of like building a house, right? It takes like twice as long as you think. And so, I did it in 2. So what happened was, Mark, I mean, once you get started, right? Once you've done that first interview, okay, my speakers, some of the sessions have been recorded. It's happening. I can't stop this thing. It's a train in motion. Once you get to that point, I mean, I suppose somebody could stop it, but that would just be a horrible idea. And so once I was on that train, I was committed. And I realized, oh my God, like this is with a VA, right? Working hard, doing a lot of the technical stuff. It was still a tremendous amount of work for me. And I found myself working weekends, working nights, not showing up for my family. And I'm a big family man. So that was really tough, honestly. Now, again, was it a horrible thing? No. Did I recover? Are we okay? Yeah, absolutely. But I would definitely say, man, give it enough time, right? And don't procrastinate.
I love that. Give it enough time for sure. In 2 months, wow, man. Even when we recommend 1-day summits, we say 60 days. So pumping that out in 2 months, you're a rock star over there, Tim. Yes. So don't go running with Tim. He's like one of those fast-paced guys up there. Well, let's kind of, as we're rounding this out here, let's talk about the post-summit offer. You had a post-summit offer. I feel like it was very well aligned with your summit. So talk about that, how either one came from the other, or how you crafted what it was, is, and how you crafted your summit around that, because it is very perfectly aligned.
Absolutely. So just to be clear, I had the 2 post-summit offers. The first was simply the final offer for the recording upsell. But the main post-summit offer was a 12-week coaching package, right, to help people discover their purpose. And that's a coaching package I've been offering for 2 years, right? And so I had a lot of experience with that. It wasn't like I had never done that before. But I knew that I wanted to increase my prices. And with the greater audience I had, I felt like I could do that. And so I did. I increased the cost on that by 20%. And I had a great success. And so, for me, I mean, again, it goes back to choosing my niche and choosing men in midlife transitions. Well, I knew that men in midlife transitions that's a group of people that classically are really asking for my services. Well, what is my purpose? What am I here to do? And so I knew that was a good match. And so there it was, the end of the summit. I did pretty well. I didn't do crazy good, but I got 1,600 people is how many that signed up, which I felt good about. And so now I've got 1,600 more people on my email list, that have made a total connection with me. They understand me. They feel like they know me. And so I put out, let's see, how did I do it? I did 5 days after the summit The immediate 5 days following, I just did the upsell on the recording. So I gave everyone one last chance before I increased the price. Then I waited 2 or 3 days after that. And this was honestly probably a bit rushed because of just the timing of my schedule. If I could do it again, I would have maybe given a few more days in here, but I waited just like 2 or 3 days after that. And then I laid out my offer. And so I think I sent, I don't know, I pushed it kind of hard. I feel like for my audience, I put out one email a day for like 5 or 6 days. And I got some feedback that, hey, that was a little much for my particular audience. So I probably would have cut that back to maybe just one email every other day. But I did really well. Comparatively, so I offered this same coaching package last year at the same time, February, March of 2019, and I had like 8 people respond. I offered it this time and I had like 35 or 40 people respond. Now, all of those were not good matches. So I took the time and, qualified them and made sure that, they were going to be a good match, both in terms of, interest level and financially and everything else. But I was able to get a full client load and meet my goal and still had people that were asking for it that I turned down. So that was pretty good.
Never a bad thing when you have to turn down clients. Yeah. I mean, that's a good problem to have, I guess, is a better way of saying that. So That is great. And that just goes to show the power, one, of what a summit can do, but two, when you have it crafted in alignment with that. And that's a common mistake I see in the summit world is hosts will create a summit because they think it's cool, it sounds cool or whatever, but it doesn't match or align with whatever their product suite or offering is after that. And it's like you just did a bunch of work, time, and energy, but you can't really convert that into the customer journey afterwards. So I liked that you let us highlight that there. So last topic I really want to kind of touch on here is you had some pretty big name speakers on your summit. I saw like Aubrey Marcus on there. I saw Garrett Gunderson. I would love to kind of just hear some tips or strategies you used to get some of these kind of higher profile speakers.
Sure. And in full disclosure, I had pre-existing relationships with some of those folks based on the wilderness programs I run. In particular, I run a father-son wilderness program where I take dads and boys out and give them this whole wilderness survival adventure. And in years past, I've had some of those folks come out for that. And so and I've been hosted on some of their podcasts before. So I had some pre-existing relationships. And I knew that with some of those bigger names, Mark, I was, almost sure that they were not going to send on email, not going to put out Facebook blasts. But I said, I want to have some of these names. That's more of a positioning thing, right? Like, okay, so here's Tim alongside these other big names. That's going to do well for my positioning. And I said, could I have had somebody else and they have sent on an email list of, 5,000 people or something? Yeah, I probably could have. But I wouldn't have had it wouldn't have had the same positioning impact. So I was kind of blending this idea of, I wasn't just pushing for emails. I was also balancing that with the positioning impact of having those bigger names. But a lot of those guys I didn't have relationships with. And so, it was pretty common sense. I got commitments from the individuals I did have relationships with first. And then I made sure to highlight that when I put my initial emails out to the other folks, like, hey, here's some other names that have already committed that are on this. And that creates, I think maybe a bit of fear of missing out for those other speakers. Like, hey, okay, well, so-and-so is doing it. Maybe I should get on this too. But I was also just really genuine. I'm a really genuine guy, you can probably tell. And I was just like, hey, I really believe in this work. Again, I was very focused on the service element and wanting to partner. And that was great. Did I have some folks that I invited that said no? Yeah, I did, but it was very few, Mark. Of my 25, I probably started off with like 30 people that I was shooting for, and then I got like 25 of them. And everybody who said no, it was never because of me or the topic. It was always like, well, they're in the middle of writing a book right now and they're saying no to everything, or something along those lines. So I felt really good about that. And again, big part of that was just really being genuine and again, being centered from a place of service. And yeah, using some names that are already committed as support in that process.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
Absolutely. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that strategy as well. Yeah. And last thing I want to kind of hit before we wrap this episode up is one of your speakers we're talking about in our pre-interview chat had some really great success on their social media promotion. So I would love to kind of hear from your perspective why that was, how that worked, and if there was any kind of takeaways we could get from that.
Absolutely. So I'm a tracking geek, right? I was tracking everything. I gave everyone unique links through an affiliate program, and I did everything I could to track where people were coming from. So I could tell, if I had 200 people sign up from one speaker and 50 sign up from another speaker, so long as they were using the unique links that I was giving them. And my assumption going into this was that the real way I was going to build my email list was through speakers sending. I also wanted to do Facebook ads, and I did have a Facebook ad campaign. But aside from that, I knew, I was like, okay, everything I'd heard was the way you're really going to build your list is through those speakers sending. That's the idea of a summit, right? And so I also gave speakers the opportunity to share and encouraged them to share on social media. And I did all the best practices. I created a promo kit and made it easy and made beautiful professional graphics featuring each speaker, et cetera, and all the pre-written content and everything for their emails. And then, of course, told them, hey, you can use this, or you can adapt it as needed, or you can rewrite it. But I was really thinking, Mark, I was like, okay, I had one guy, he was really well known, 50,000 plus on his email list, and I don't know, more than that, 60 or 70,000 followers on his Facebook page. And for whatever reason, it just didn't click for me, because I asked him would he send, and I was so hoping, please send. Well, he didn't send. And I was totally deflated. I was totally bummed. Oh my God, this would have been huge, 50,000. Well, what he did was he said, I'll promote on Facebook. And what did he do? I think he put 3 or 4 different posts out. It wasn't crazy, a crazy big focus, but he put them out there. And I think it was really cool. He did pin one of those to the top of his page, right? You can do that on Facebook, pin to the top. And I was tracking all those, watching that closely, and seeing how many people are liking it and sharing it. And it wasn't crazy, but I don't know, there was 50 or 70 likes or something and 20 shares or something. But I'll tell you what, over the course of it, I had several hundred people sign up just on his link, through his unique affiliate link. And that actually outperformed others who were sending to email lists of 10,000 plus. And that shocked me. Now, granted, he had a big Facebook following, but I don't know. I just didn't think that Facebook could do that. I did not expect that to come from social media. I absolutely didn't. And so it was a real lesson of, this is a big deal. And if you do your homework, it's not the end of the world if somebody doesn't send. And I think that's really common, right? The big names out there probably don't want to send as much, but they're willing to post on Facebook. That's a big deal.
That is very interesting to have learned. I'm glad you shared that with us. Tim, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I know people are sitting there right now going Mark, how can I get more Tim in my life? Where's he hanging out at? So why don't you let everybody know where you're hanging out at and the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if people are interested, they can just check out my main website. It's purposemountain.com, just like it sounds, purposemountain.com, purposemountain.com. And if folks are interested in my work, I've got a free PDF download on there, Purpose Discovery Kit. They can check it out, get a little sampling, and get in touch with me if anyone's interested. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go check Tim out over there. Tim, thanks again. Before we round this out, though, I'll let you leave us with one parting piece of wisdom that you have for our summit hosts that are listening in right now.
Yeah, great, man. Well, I'll just say, as we're recording this, the whole coronavirus epidemic is getting crazy and going out of control. And we were talking about that before we got started here. And I'm always a big believer in difficult times and asking, okay, what is the positive that can come out of this? And to me, what I see is that in terms of one positive from coronavirus is that, we still need each other. And with the social distancing and everything that's happening on the online forum is I think even more important than ever right now. And so if you're somebody who's out there, you're thinking about running a summit, you haven't done that, focus on the people that you can serve. I mean, I touched hundreds, thousands of lives. I had so many people just reach out and say, thank you, Tim. Oh my God, this changed my life. This changed everything for me. And as long as you're being authentic and you care, you're going to have a positive impact. I mean, just do it. And don't think so much about, back to our earlier conversation, don't worry so much about, are people going to like me or not? Yeah, anywhere you go. So some people are not going to like you. Some people are. But think about those people whose lives you're going to touch, the difference you can make. And let that be the North Star to allow you to just step in and go for it.
Love it. So good. Thank you, Tim, so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely. It's absolutely been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark.
Of course. And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for hanging out with Tim and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. And just remember, your message matters. So go out there and make an impact in the world. Don't forget to check out all these amazing goodies that Tim just shared with us over in the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/142. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.